like it was sloppy.
Oh yeah, they've both been sloppy as hell since they came back, and it was only a matter of time before it actually caused damage.
And you got to give to Liv Morgan wanting to get back in that ring and was able to do that triple suplex before they were just like, no, stay the hell out of the ring.
But we
got a concussion.
Are we reaching that point where if you get knocked out, the match should be stopped? Are we reaching that point where it's getting to be too much? Scholar's quick talk.
I'm going to say no. I honestly felt like they should have worked their way around it a lot more. Like, perfect example would be when Kevin Nash was in that multi-man tag match, and next thing you know, he blows one of his quad, and the first thing the wrestlers do is basically tag them in and just continue the match while Kevin Nash rolls out of the ring. It should have been that. They tried their best to do that, but whichever Bella was that sucker punched Ruby Riott in the face.
Yeah, because the controversy at first was Brie Bella is sloppy. Okay,
her kicks were...
But about 24 hours later, okay, it turned into should matches be stopped when the wrestlers are knocked out.
I'm still going to say no.
So it was basically two different controversies merged into one.
I think the one big thing that I've read about is that the ref should have done a lot more.
Oh yeah,
to keep Liv Morgan
Liv Morgan
should have went after her immediately and kept her out of the ring.
Yeah, they should. Props to Liv Morgan for taking that suplex, but she should have been nowhere near
that spot.
That spot. Because that probably rattled her even more, because you saw her try to get up and drop again. So yeah. And then, of course, Michael Cole. On the outside, she's in the back getting looked on as she's outside.
As she's right being checked by a doctor. You
come on now, man. Michael Cole, cameraman, sync up your shit. Come on. That's it.
And trying to look back on the rest of Raw, because there's really nothing more else to say about that. As much, it just leaves the question that the Bella should, at least Brie should, step out of the ring.
Yeah.
Stay away. Because this has reached the point where it's more than ring rust. This is just... No.
It's been a month. You've been in multiple matches. Come on now.
You've had something going on to now it's reached the point where someone else is getting hurt because of your stupidity.
Yeah.
So, let them have their stupid Nikki Bella women's title match against Ronda Rousey at Evolution, and then the Bella should disappear, go back on reality TV. Go back.
That's what they're good at.
That's
kinda.
It's something that they're better known for. Let's just go with that.
And you know what? Raw as a whole, okay, it really picked up after the last couple weeks. I actually enjoyed it more than I have in a little while, because of the cohesive storyline flowing
for Dean Ambrose
in between. And there was, you had the what the hell moment of bunch of guys who haven't been on Raw in a while. Finn Balor versus Jinder Mahal, with Bayley and Alicia Fox on the outside.
That was just more to promote the mixed match challenge.
Yeah, promote the mixed match challenge, but I could have done without it. Leo Rush and Bobby Lashley might be the greatest pairing that I've never thought of.
And to think, this is all just build up for Bobby Lashley and John Cena versus Elias and Kevin Owens at Super Showdown.
Where we all know You want to talk about a house show match? That's gonna be it.
It's like, yeah, let's just try and build this one match without the fourth contestant because he's a part timer now, and
I love the Elias line. Come on down, Leo Rush. I've got a high chair for you in the ring.
because he's short.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
It was fun.
Yeah,
that was a fun segment, and I will agree.
And sometimes you gotta if it's entertaining, you can deal with the logic gaps and the dumb reason. Oh, he's short. Hey, high chair. And jokes. And
you gotta give it to Ziggletire versus Revival. That was actually a really good match.
You had near fall. You knew that the Revival wasn't going to win, but the near falls actually worked.
Does this count as a face turn for the Revival? Because they were booked as the face team in this match for obvious reasons.
It depends on where they go with it from here. Because anybody is going to be a face against Ziggletire at this point. Mm-hmm. So where they go from here, yeah. The one thing that I hated it so much. Victor gets a random clean victory over Chad Gable.
Actually, it was Connor.
Connor, yeah. Connor gets a clean.
Yeah, I was actually about to move that one up.
That should tell you everything you need to know. I mixed them up. Connor gets a clean victory over Chad Gable. You think Chad Gable's gaining some momentum? Hey, guess what? Oh God, now you lost clean to a guy who hasn't won on Raw in years. Years.
What the hell is that? What the hell is this even meaning for them? It's this. I like Chad Gable and Bobby Roode.
Yes,
they are a fun act.
It's an inspiring choice. Like, I would have never thought of Chad Gable teaming with Bobby Roode, but they started doing it, and Chad Gable, being the overzealous, glorious fiend that he is, okay, it works. It's entertaining. It's fun, and then you do. And then
you do this.
That's it.
Well, it's only this pointless feud is going to keep going, and it's, in my opinion, starting to hurt Gable and Roode being a fun little act.
Starting,
it is
for me. It's done. It's done now. Done now.
Well,
you lost to Connor. You lost to Connor. Okay, of the Ascension, a team that hasn't won a match on Raw since the beginning of time. Okay, that's it. You lost. There wasn't even bullshit. You lost.
Well, I'm gonna wait and see what they do for the go home show. Before I close the door on this.
There is no wait and see for me. The door is closed. You lost to Connor. It's done.
Okay, that's it. There were a few down moments, there were a few up moments, but I will agree, this definitely has been a very entertaining Raw. And now it's building on layers for the main story that is the Shield versus, I'm going to give it them because WWE, the Hounds of Justice versus the Dogs of War. That's the best you're going to get out of me.
And you know what? If it's based on those lines, I can deal with that name. Mm-hmm. I can deal with that name because based on those lines, it makes sense. If you don't call them the Shield, you call them the Hounds of Justice. So it's like the Hounds of Justice versus the Dogs of War sounds pretty good, right? Mm-hmm. The Shield versus the Dogs of War.
No.
How does that sound? No.
Nah. I would probably just call them Chaos. But that's just me.
Yeah, the added wrinkles to a story that was going nowhere, and you made it mean something. Mm-hmm. And we'll see where it goes from here.
For the go-home show, exactly. And that brings us to SmackDown Live, which I'm just going to do my Raw versus SmackDown Live. This still was the better show. But I'm not taking that away from Raw. Raw was a good show, but I'm still going to stick with SmackDown because the difference between Raw and SmackDown for me is that every storyline actually meant something for me. Well, except Naomi and Asuka versus the Iconics.
I don't even.
That's the only thing.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that took it. That is the only thing I don't care about. When you have Becky Lynch taking down Charlotte, it's like
and doing the I'm gonna stand on your shoulder and lift the title. Mm-hmm. Yes. And what happens? The crowd goes nuts.
The crowd goes nuts for it.
So,
but that's not.
We're gonna say it every week.
But for the first time in the last couple weeks, that wasn't the main focus of SmackDown. No. The main focus this week
was Rusev Day.
Yes, and Rusev and Lana coming out to the ring and calling out Aiden English for the simple question, why?
And Aiden English,
his promos.
I think that was his coming out party.
That was definitely a great promo. This whole everything about this whole segment was just fantastic in my opinion. With Rusev and Lana saying, "What's up with that?"
Aiden coming English going out with the
his whole video packages of how, I guess you could say, dominant that Rusev Day was, even though. Really, when you look at the long run, they could have done a lot more with Rusev Day, which is something we talked about last week. And they threw in, and then Aiden throws the second video package as once Lana started showing up, they started falling apart. But as we were just saying, they didn't have very much to build upon for Lana to fall apart. And it all led to that final line from Aiden English. So he said, "Yeah, that's what I love about you, Lana. You're just so honest. You were even going to go to Rusev last week and tell him what I said. But here's the thing: are you truly honest with him?" "Oh, what do you mean, Aiden? What are you talking? Did you tell him about what happened in Milwaukee?"
And then leaves.
And then that was his pipe bomb. He even pipe bomb, boom. And the crowd is going nuts. They're just going, yes, 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 Milwaukee, Milwaukee, Milwaukee. So the big rumor is that they're hinting the fact that a segment that The Rock had with Lana a few months back, even bringing up the Wisconsin wheelbarrow as an interesting position. So they may pull the whole storyline of Lana having an intimate one night with The Rock. How do you feel about that?
As it's the same thing with it's the same thing as the storyline that we talked about earlier. I'm down for any wrinkle that will make this storyline make sense and actually be like it. It'll bring more character to Rusev and Lana. And Aiden English being the one to call it out. Now, do I think it'll be The Rock? Because that wasn't a couple months ago. That was a couple years ago.
Was it years ago?
It was a couple years ago. Okay, so I think that it's gonna be something about Aiden English and Lana, which will really. If it's Aiden English and Lana, then this storyline's gonna jump off. Okay, we're at the beginning stages. Why did you do what you did? You didn't appreciate me, and when Lana came in, it tore us apart. And then that was just the beginning. And now it's gonna go into that personal range. And the one thing that SmackDown has taught us is that when it gets into the personal range,
it's a more intriguing story.
Is when the feud really jumps off. Just look at Charlotte, Becky Lynch. Look at Samoa Joe, AJ Styles.
Let's talk about that one bit of Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. My God, first we get a build up for a contract signing that ends up not happening. I mean,
This was-
at least not on Joe's part.
Let me just put this out there. That backstage segment with Paige asking AJ Styles not to have the contract signing go AWOL or whatever